Late in the evening on June 3rd and into June 4th, 1989, the Chinese Communist Party leadership unleashed the People's Liberation Army, the PLA, upon the protesters. They used brute force and legal force against peaceful protest. Guns and tanks crushed innocent civilians, young and old alike. The precise number of casualties to this day is unknown. There has been no public accounting of the events of that week and no justice for the victims. Rather, those seeking to commemorate the event or seek information about those killed, like the Tiananmen mothers, are harassed, detained, and arrested themselves. One of the most iconic figures of the Tiananmen massacre is that of the tank man, the solitary figure with shopping bags in hand who stood in front of the advancing line of tanks. That act of brave defiance inspired the world and reminds us why the heroic protest movement of 1989 must never be forgotten. Tiananmen is not simply a past event to study and ponder, but a present reminder that when the Chinese people are free to assemble, to act, and to speak, they demand freedom, democracy, and political reform. What happened on Tiananmen Square in 1989 should also remind us that the principles of freedom and democracy are not only American principles. The fundamental human yearning for dignity and liberty is not limited to any one region or country in the world. They are aspirations that transcend countries and culture, and neither tanks nor torture can erase them. Nonetheless, as we look at the China of today, the prospects for greater civil and political rights seem as remote today as they did the day after the tanks rolled through Tiananmen Square. An increasingly aggressive Chinese Communist Party government is more repressive in domestic politics, more mercantilistic in trade and economic policy, increasingly dismissive of international norms, and more assertive in exporting the authoritarian model globally. While repression looks so much different today than it did 35 years ago, the goal remains the same: to preserve the Communist Party's monopoly, an absolute monopoly, on political power through any means possible: state-sponsored indoctrination, a pervasive surveillance state, arbitrary detention, torture, and transnational repression. At this moment in time, the United States and its allies face a systemic challenge from the Chinese Communist government and its authoritarian allies in Russia, Iran, and North Korea. It is a challenge we cannot avoid, and one where promotion of human rights and freedom must be recognized as a strategic advantage against authoritarianism.